What a run for Ronda Rousey. 6 title defenses, 5 first-round finishes, and a whole bunch of UFC records. Her run was nothing but historic. Funny enough though, her run didn't even start in the octagon. Ronda Rousey was named the first ever UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship at the UFC on Fox Diaz vs. Henderson press conference. With Strikeforce merging into the UFC, it only made sense to crown their women's champion as a UFC champion, just as Jose Aldo and Dominic Cruz were with the WEC merger. Her first title defense in the UFC wasn't against the best in the division, but it was a showcase of what women can bring to the octagon. Carmouche was able to keep the fight entertaining, but in the end, Ronda caught her with her patented armbar in the first round. Next for Ronda Rousey was Cat Zingano, but unfortunately an injury sidelined Zingano, meaning that Ronda Rousey would be facing her best friend Miesha Tate. After a tense season of Tough, the two met at UFC 168, where for the first time in her career, Ronda couldn't finish the fight in the first round. Ronda still dominated the fight, finishing Tate in the third round with her patented armbar submission. Her next two opponents, McMahon and Davis, were legit opponents who had the skills to win and had won many fights in women's MMA, but they weren't enough for Ronda Rousey. Rousey made quick work of both ladies, finishing McMahon with a knee to the body and slamming Davis with a judo throw before punching her lights out. Ronda now had 4 successful title defenses, which is a big deal in the UFC, but she had also been featured on Sports Illustrated, Maxim, and was just getting her career started in Hollywood. Ronda was also set to face the #1 contender, Cat Zingano, in what was supposed to be her toughest test to date. Ronda finished the fight in a UFC championship record of 16 seconds with the armbar. She passed her toughest test with flying colors and at this point looked unbeatable. All at the same time, Ronda Rousey was proving that she was able to draw pay-per-view numbers with her fight against Cat Zingano, getting 600,000 buys. She would end up outdoing herself at UFC 190. Bethe Correia was arguably her easiest test, but Ronda made sure to keep things entertaining. A bitter war of words followed by a knockout boosted Ronda's star power. The pay-per-view had a buy rate of 900,000, establishing her as the biggest star in the sport. Ronda Rousey was now starring in movies, becoming an internet sensation, was going on talk shows, and was even winning a whole bunch of ESPYs. At this time, Ronda Rousey was by far the biggest star in the sport. Her loss against Holly Holm was spectacular, but it doesn't take away anything from Ronda Rousey's historic run. She was able to defend her title 6 times, something that not a lot of UFC champions are able to do. And Georges St. Pierre will tell you that even though you lose a championship, it doesn't mean that you can make another great run, meaning that Ronda Rousey still has the potential to win her title back and go on even a further run. But what can't be forgotten is that Ronda Rousey had one of the most historic UFC championship runs to date. Anderson Silva, Georges St. Pierre, John Jones, Jose Aldo, and after that it has to be Ronda Rousey. She was able to dominate everybody she saw in the first round, other than Miesha Tate, and eventually it caught up to her with Holly Holm winning. But nobody can forget that Ronda Rousey made history in the UFC.